Tired of dropping your phone or struggling to prop it up? Meet the Pop Sockets phone grip with expanding kickstand in black, your new must-have accessory. Don't miss out. Grab yours today. Click the link in the video description to shop now on Amazon.
So, Apple's been working on getting its iPad to be more like a traditional computer for years now. And finally, they've released an update that brings multi-window multitasking to the iPad. Craig Federighi, Senior Vice President of Software Engineering, was teasing about how obvious it was when he introduced this new feature in iPadOS 26. But why did it take so long to get here? Well, the first iPads were basically just iPhone internals with a bigger screen. They lacked robust multi-window multitasking and the ability for third-party apps to exchange data. Apple's trying to explain that they needed to start from the foundation of what makes an iPad work, which is touch-first interactions. Folks at Apple say that Mac users are more tolerant of small latency on their devices because they're already used to interacting with apps in a different way. But the iPads back then didn't have the capacity to run an unlimited number of windowed apps with perfect responsiveness. The technical limitations of iPhone and iPad apps at the time meant that developers were coding for specific screen sizes and resolutions. Fast forward to the late 2010s, when Apple's iPad Pros started boosting processing power, RAM, and storage. And with those faster tablets came a shift in how people used their devices. They began using trackpad and keyboard more often, which made it possible for the iPad to do more like a Mac. The stars finally aligned where many of the things you traditionally do with a Mac were possible on an iPad. Now, Apple tried a windowed multitasking system once this decade, but it was rough around the edges. They delayed that year's iPadOS release because Stage Manager wasn't quite ready. But this time around, they decided to make everything available, even if it had some nuances on older hardware. One of the key goals of the new windowing system was to offer a consistent experience for users, which meant 4 simultaneous apps on the internal display and an external display with 4 simultaneous apps. This established a floor for how low the compatibility could go. Federighi is trying to reassure us that they've discovered many optimizations behind the scenes, re-architecting their windowing system and managing background tasks in new ways. They were able to squeeze more out of other devices than before. Now, we're seeing an iPadOS 26 update with a new, more Mac-like interface, improved file managers, better support for running tasks in the background, and even true multi-monitor support on some devices. While this move is definitely towards the Mac's interface, Apple's still trying to treat them as different products with different priorities. No touch screens on the Mac, despite years of rumors, and limitations remain when trying to fit an iPad into a Mac-shaped hole in your computing setup. Still, it does feel like Apple has finally settled on a design that might stick and adds capability to the iPad, without wrecking its simplicity for those who still just want a big screen for reading and streaming.